Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be giving an economic calendar for May 3rd through May 8th. My name is Belli and I hope you enjoy. These are the topics that we're going to cover. I'm going to get into more detail, so there's no need to go over each one. But as you can see, there's a lot of reports that have happened in the last couple of days. First off, we have the prelim non-farm productivity. This shows annualized change from the same quarter from the prior year. It's released quarterly and it measures labor efficiency when producing goods and services, excluding the farm industry, just because that data would skew the numbers a little bit. A drop of workers' productivity results in their wage, which is passed on the consumer. Here we have an actual of 0.7%, the forecast was 0.9%, and the previous was 0%. My sentiment is positive for this. Next we have the prelim unit labor costs. This shows annualized change from same quarter from the prior year, just like the previous one, and it also excludes the farming industry. It's released quarterly and it shows the price businesses pay for labor. When businesses pay more for labor, the costs are generally passed to consumers. Here we have an actual 2.7%, forecast was 3.1%, and the previous was 2.5%. My sentiment for this is negative because the actual is lower than forecast. Unemployment claims. This is the number of individuals who have filed for unemployment for the first time during the past week. It is released weekly and is a sign of good overall economic health. The actual is 211,000, forecast is 225,000, and previous is 209,000. My sentiment for this is positive. Although it has increased a little bit, it's still way below the forecast. Trade balance measures the difference in value between imported and exported goods and services. It is released monthly. Exporting demands impact production prices at the domestic manufacturers. In order to buy domestic exports, you must buy the domestic currency. Trade balance actual is negative 49.0 billion, and the forecast was 50 billion. Previous was 57 billion, negative 57 billion. So my sentiment for this is positive. Final services PMI. This survey about 400 purchasing managers who asked respondents to rate the level of their business conditions. It is released monthly, and above 50 indicates expansion, and below 50 indicates a contraction. The final services PMI actual is 54.6, forecast is 54.4, previous was 54.4. My sentiment for this is positive. ISM non-manufacturing PMI. Survey about 400 purchasing managers who asked respondents to rate the level of business conditions, excluding the manufacturing industry. It is released monthly. Also, like the previous one, above 50 indicates expansion, below 50 indicates a contraction. Here, the ISM non-manufacturing PMI, the actual is 56.8, forecast was 58.1, and the previous was 58.8. My sentiment for this is negative. Factory orders. Shows the change in total value of new purchase orders placed with manufacturer companies. Shows production. An increase in purchase orders means they're going to have to increase their production as well. Actuals 1.6%, forecast 1.3%, and the previous is 1.6%. My sentiment for this is neutral. Natural gas storage. Shows the change in number of cubic feet of natural gas, domestic, held in the underground storage for the past week. Shows how much levels rise or fall, and it's independent of the previous number. Natural gas storage, actual 62 billion, forecast was 47 billion, previous was negative 18 billion. And this is the first time we've seen so much, and it's been, I think it was a couple months or maybe even a year, but I know this data is very good for us in the economy because this number of 62 billion is very high. Average hourly earnings shows the change in price businesses pay for labor. It can indicate consumer inflation. When businesses pay more for labor, the higher costs are generally passed on to the consumer. Actual is 0.1%, forecast 0.2%, and the previous is 0.2%. My sentiment is negative. Non-farm employment shows a change in number of employed during the past and previous month. It excludes the farm industry. Job creation is very important to the economy. More people with jobs generally means more spending within the economy. Actual is 164,000. The forecast is 190,000, and the previous 135,000. My sentiment is negative. The unemployment rate. It shows the percentage of the total work for that is unemployed but actively seeking employment. It is released monthly, and consumer spending is highly correlated to the unemployed people. More people with jobs create more spending in the economy. Actual is 3.9%, forecast is 4%, and the previous is 4.1%. So my sentiment for this is positive. Consumer credit. Change in the total value of outstanding consumer credit that requires installment payments. Rising debt levels are a sign that lenders feel confident and they're comfortable giving out money. Also, it builds confidence within the person that's issuing the money or being issued the money because he's eager to go and spend it. Actual is 11.6 billion. Forecast is 16.2 billion, and the previous was 13 billion. So my sentiment for this is negative. NFIB, the Small Business Index, it's based on a survey of small businesses about 1 to 250 employees. It includes the labor markets, inventories and sales, capital spending, inflation, earnings and wages, and credit markets when they're asked respondents to rate the level of economic conditions. Actual is 104.8, the forecast 105.2, and the previous 104.7. My sentiment for this is neutral. Jobs openings. The number of job openings during the month, excluding the farm industry. Job openings show a sign of overall employment within the economy. The actual is 6.55 million, the forecast is 6.02 million, and the previous is 6.08 million. And my sentiment for this is positive. The economic optimism. IBD stands for Investors Business Daily, and TIPP stands for Technometrica Institute of Policy and Politics. Survey of about 900 consumers who asked respondents to rate the level of economic conditions. The 6-month economic outlook, personal finance outlook, confidence in federal economic policies. Actual is 53.6, forecast 51.3, and the previous was 52.6. And my sentiment for this is positive. Now we're going to get into the 10-year Treasury yield. As we can see, it's about 2.9. You can see through the last week, it really has been very steady, and it hasn't changed to any of the economic news. The S&P 500, there was a big drop right here on the end of Wednesday, so I'm covering it from Thursday to Tuesday, and we can see it's getting back rising onto that where it was about a week ago. It's at 2,666 right now. Gold prices have been fluctuating from Thursday to Tuesday. It's been about the same, but within that week, within these couple days, it has been fluctuating up and down. Very little change. It's at 1,308.10. Currency is the euro and the US dollar. Now when these two are inversely related, so as the US dollar goes up, the euro goes down. As we can see here, the euro has been decreasing. It's a 1.1848 right now. Now this is the US dollar in yen. As the yen goes up, the US dollar is correlated as well, going up. Here we see the yen at 109.22, which is a good sign for our US dollar. Oil, the crude oil West Texas, is 68.28, and the spread from that and the Brent, 68.28 versus 73, so about 5-6 basis points. Brent and the West Texas is very similar in growth. It's been very steady for the last week, and we can see this steady keep going into the future. Thank you.